I'm one of 12 children, 8 boys, 4 girls. When I was 14, I went to the butcher shop to work. Uncle Alfie and Uncle Sid, and this was during the war when the meat was on ration. And they used to have the rota for deliveries, for cutting joints out. Used to have the rotas, names to go down to. When it come to so-and-so, they'll cut, yeah, they'll have a piece of this, piece of that. It was like, again, it was rationed and everybody couldn't, there was lots of bad pieces and bad joints and they had to be shared out, or should have been shared out. Take a turn and you had a nice piece last month. Anyway, Alfie's wife's mother, I think they were called Turners from Orchard Road. Turner. When it come the list for cutting out the joints, I can see Alfie and Cider now. I was only a boy. I was doing some boning or cutting up someone else. When it come to, I was waiting for it. I was nearly down to Mrs. Turner's. Oh, Mrs. Turner's name. Come up to Mrs. Turner's name. And they were Sid and Alfie Sid with a knife here and Alfie there. What we were to? Well, I'll give her a piece of this. Well, how much? Sid, Alfie would put the knife in, get in a nice piece. Sid would move the knife back. Alfie would move him again. Then all of a sudden, Sid would get hold of the knife. Well, cut the pencil. How they didn't cut fingers, I do not know. Anyway, they'd come to in the end. They'd get sorted out. But as always, when they come to Mrs. Turner's, Alfie's mother-in-law, had to be a little bit better and a little bit more. But everything was rationed. Corned beef was rationed. Used to cut corned beef up in little quarter pounds. You could look out the window and see anybody coming in. We were there one morning working on a Tuesday morning, beginning of the week. There was a lady coming into the shop. It was Mrs. Horwell, she was called. She was from the bottom of the village. She was Irish. Uncle Sid would look, because meat was, like I say, scarce, and you could have done it more. Anyway, he seen Mrs. Horwell coming across. Sid would say to Alfie, "Her bloody coming again. I was over here the other day. What's her coming for now? I'll tell her." Alfie said, "You tell her whether." "I bloody will. I'll tell her." Door would open. Mrs. Horwell would come in. "Hello, Sid, good morning. Hello, Alfie, good morning." Yes, and Sid would do his usual thing. They wore aprons. He'd pick up his apron in his hand and wipe his hands and go, "Yes, Miss Horwell. Oh, Sid, I wonder if I could," because you couldn't have nothing special because you was on ration. "Could a scrag of mutton, please?" He was Irish. He was going to make some Irish too, I suppose. Scrag of mutton. Well, I was something, the scrag in the neck of the. Oh yeah, Sid would. Yeah, all right, yeah, I'll get. Yeah. Sid went and got a scrag of mutton and put it up, weighed it, and paid for it. "Here, thanks very much, sir." So he didn't say nothing. But I always said, "There's coming now. You tell her." "I bloody will," but he never did. Give her the scrag of mutton, paid for it. Thank you, Miss Horwell. They were so big and yet they were so gentle.
Yeah.
But the days in that butcher shop, the way they used to fall out, but they'd fall in again. Wonderful, wonderful days.
Dad used to play bowls. Mum used to like to sit and watch cricket of a Saturday, and Auntie Alice used to come over on her big push bike, and they're always brought over cucumber sandwiches, and they was always soaked in vinegar, and I was like, "Oh my God almighty, it's soaked in vinegar." Or Dad would, if he one playing bowls, he'd take me in Newton and catch a bus number 16, and us would go in the Odeon or the Alec. He'd say, "Well, come on then, sweetheart, which one do we want?" And we always went for a cowboy or whatever, so I used to run between the Odeon and the Alec to see which was a good one, So that was of a Saturday, and then if we come in early, we used to go in the cafe. What was that bloke called down the bottom of the?
Mike the Greek.
And ever passed in there or whatever. And
Greek,
then
Mike the Greek.
if the pictures finished early, us would go get fish and chips. And that was a treat of fish and chips, God forbid. We used to catch the train. Mother would get off down the bottom of the railway station or walk, oh, it's Jesus. Or walk from one end of Newton right up to the other end where was that woman, the rats and that cake shop. What was it called, Graham? Up the top
Elliot's,
there? Elliot.
Culver Street.
Elliot's, wasn't
What
it?
do you call it?
Elliot's.
Oh,
Bakery.
yeah, that's what it's called.
And
yeah.
that woman was called, what was the woman called? Popeyes. What was it? Popeyes' sister? Popeyes' wife?
Oh, I don't know, but one of my...
Olive oil.
Olive oil. They used to say she looked like olive oil.
Oh,
Do you remember?
Do you know?
Colin
I know,
Ashbad,
I
that.
know what I'm talking about now, yeah.
Yeah. And then we go up
Yeah,
one
olive
side, and
oil.
then Mother would walk right down. I mean, there was loads of shops in those days. And again, we used to have fish and chips. That was a treat, sit in Courtney Park or whatever, and catch a train home. And that was your weekend, really. Sundays, we always went to church. Mum was quite a big church goer like that, Mum and Dad, really. So you spent all day Sunday dressing up to go church. You put on your best clothes in the morning, go church, come home, change your clothes, put on your glad rags, and then off again, and up again in the evening. And then Mum would meet me from Sunday school, and then you go for a walk, and then if the vicar come round, or would open a tin of pears or cream or whatever we had, and always had a bit of slab cake, or fruit cake.
Yeah.
And that was a treat to have jelly and a tin of pears and ideal milk. Jesus, that really was a flipping treat. Oh, I love junket and cream. I don't want the nutmeg on the top, but you can't get Stone's essence and run it now. It's
Didn't
another make. It's not the same. No, lovely junket. Bugger, I could eat that now. Junket and cream. Yeah.
I had my first ice cream, if I remember, down in Decoy Post Office. My first ice cream.
Yeah, can you remember when you went pictures and all that? The woman would come round with the ice cream and your popcorn.
Yeah.
And Kiora orange that was sucked up with a straw, wasn't it? Do you remember all that, Graham? Do you remember that?
Remember the advert?
Yeah. Yeah, that used to be good stuff, but that was spent weekends, really. You had to go out and play with your mates and that. Mum never had anybody in the house or little children or anything like that in the house. You just got on and made your own way or cut it up with some sandwiches.
Yeah.
And once you was out the door, you was out the door. You weren't allowed to come back again till tea time or dinner time. You had to make your own entertainment. Then I had an aunt and uncle, ever so fond of Auntie Alice and Uncle Reg. Oh, I love them to bits. In her latter years, I mean, I didn't poison Uncle Reg, I don't know, because I always burnt all the meals and that. But he absolutely worshipped her. But I was ever so fond of Auntie Alice and Uncle Reg. And what I used to like to do is I used to say to Auntie Alice if it's Saturday, can I ride your bike in Bovey? Which was a old-fashioned pedal one. And I said, yeah, but you mind what you're doing and have a bit of money and go in and get some popcorn or whatever it was. And then I'd go back out around the pond where Uncle Reg had his allotment, and I used to go down there scrumping peas. I used to love to do that, picking peas and eating them. And he used to come down, he said, I know you're down there. I'd away in between either peas, and I never would answer. And he said, come on out, I know you're in there. And I would finally come out, but he never told me off. He wasn't like that at all. But he always knew, and he kept little chickens and all that. And of course, we never had toilets in those days. We always had toilets outside. And you had Isle toilet paper or something that was on it. Oh, when I think of it, my God, it never awful, wasn't it, eh? Go outside, you had the bucket and you'd have a poop or scooper or whatever, and you'd like that. Oh, it was honestly, but they was good days, wasn't they?
Oh, I was cutting some logs last Christmas for indoors on the saw bench that's here. And I was cutting an old broken fencing stake, and it caught in the blade and spun across and took the first joint of my thumb off, which was a bit of a nuisance for a week or two, but we soon got used to it. Yeah, no problem at all now. Well, you just get on with it. You haven't got to. You've got work to do. You got to go on and do it. Yeah, it's. I'm afraid in this job, there's always something that catches you out. Like I say, it wasn't the blade. I never cut it. It spun and squashed it, and so there we are. We thought we were being careful, but obviously it still catches you out. My father, he cut the tops of his fingers off in a baler, where the thing was broken. Put his hands in, and a knife came down, cut the tops of his fingers off, but. Trimmed them up, but he didn't take much notice of it. Soon back going again. They certainly were tough. I've seen my father walk up through the orchard and see an apple full of wasps, and he'd pick him up and squeeze him in his hand and throw it down, and I'd never seen one stinging. His hands were hard, there was no doubt about that. And he had hands, I got fair hands, but he had hands like shovels. And but it was all manual work in those days. I've done quite a bit of manual work, but obviously in my lifetime, if I could find a machine to do it and I could afford it, I would have the machine. People don't do the manual work that we did. And when I think of my father, and you know, by the time he was in his early 60s, he was crippled right up with joints just completely worn out.
But see, years ago on the farms, these are just pure cider.
Yeah.
All right, some were better than others, and, you know, I mean, but you could drink it.
You were glad to have it then, no worry.
Whoa, see, the chaps that worked on the farm years ago, they left
No.
more cider.
That's right.
Oh, no, they didn't work. They didn't,
Oh,
no,
I
they
don't
didn't,
know.
they didn't work the way what never no cider.
No. No.
Of course, then, see, Bill, see, people didn't take sandwiches, see. Used to take a hunk of bread and cheese.
Yeah, I
And
know.
raw onion.
I know.
Oh, that cider, they used to wash that down with that cider. They didn't worry about that. That's all they had for dinner, were bread, cheese, and onion, and something like that.
Ah.
Never take sandwiches.
No. When my father used to go down old with the Mossburns and do the hedging at night times, you know, trim his hedges, he'd always call back in the centre of the old Wyndham,
Ah,
have a glass cider. That's the only cider he did ever had. Yeah. That was some good cider.
well, we had a couple of chaps work up the farm up where I was out. I know I used to go home to dinner, like,
Yeah.
if I could, you know.
Yeah.
And they used to stop out there when their dinner time, they go and sit down beside the barrow, and that's where they'd have their dinner.
Yeah.
Ah, old Whoopie Adam and
Yeah.
a nice Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, I sit down beside the barrow.
A lot of them let you do it, though.
Oh, they, well, like, over the street, they don't work there, they let you that side.
No.
They're like thrashing time, see.
Oh, well, that was
We had to
different.
get some help in for thrashing, because we rode a hell of a lot of corn during the war.
Yeah.
And old man who used to bring them up, or Aunt Carrie used to get her, I mean, that were bread and cheese.
Yeah.
She used to cut that up and bring out a good tray bowl.
Right.
But they pointed out and helped herself to the cider.
Ah.
Oh,
I said to father, I could like to have a motorbike. We said, you can have a motorbike. But he didn't say he was going to pay for one for me. So he said, how are you going to get it? I said, I'll catch rabbits and moles and all that sort of thing. So I did. Caught rabbits and moles. Used to catch the moles and sell the skins and all that sort of thing. Eventually got enough for my motorbike. Yeah. No, I used to do a lot of badger digging and catching foxes and all that sort of thing. And I used to have a friend of mine used to be a prison officer up at Princetown, and he used to come out with his couple of ducks. He'd help me out with hay overs and that sort of thing. And he'd come out, so I was finished up picking up hay or something. Said, what's this do? Oh, so I have a dose and go see what I can find. And I did one day. I found a big black rock down at Sherrill Wood. And it was all this side and all that side. He said, all right, I'll stand on the rock. And he'd got a 2-2 rifle. And he said, you put the dogs in. So I went to the other side, put one dog in. I have a rattle going in there, barking and all that. Out shot a badger, he shot, got that one. So he said, put the other dog in. Lot more rattle, out pops another one. Now he shot that one as well, shot 5 in the end, out of one under the rock. Yeah. And he sort of skinned all those and sold the skin as well. Yeah. Well, I used to use it for shaving brushes and that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah. Well, they used to make coats out of the moleskins. Yeah. There's a little tawny little square like that it is. You used to have to leave a tail on. It had a little tail. Because all their skins was sewn in together, and they used to leave the tails out on the coat. Yeah. I used to cut a lot anyway. I found a run once, used to find the run going out through to the next field, and I found it was about that deep, and I caught 10 moles in that run. Yeah. Yeah, just put the traps out. Yeah.
Oh, when it's courting, they used to have carnivals down Sanford Village, over the brow. Me better half said, you leave your hat on point. Other people don't wear a hat so much as you do. So I left me hat home that night. I forget how we got to Sanford, whether we walked or what, for the evening carnival. Anyway, come into a shower of rain, didn't it? Because I got me head streaming wet, didn't I? Because I left me at home, I didn't put me cap or whatever in me pocket. Do you know, for a week, Graham, I didn't go mazed, but I was, well, I don't know what you call it. I wasn't very well anyway. I said, never again do I leave me hat off when I go out, unless it's good hot weather. But that week, it was in October, I remember rightly, wasn't it?
It to be summer carnival,
No,
within
carnival.
October.
There, and like I say, I had a hell of a head for a week. I caught a cold to my head, didn't I, or something. Didn't go doctor in the north, but took some, well, I don't know what at the time, but I shook it off anyway, Graham. Yeah. I think, if I remember rightly, I had a sort of a dull headache most of the time. What the hell's the matter with it? I said, never again do I leave my hat off. No, that was the Sanford Carnival night.
In the summer, when it's hot, I don't wear a hat. But in the winter, I like me for me furry hat rather than keep me ears hot. Oh yeah. And yet in the 1963 winter, I never wear a pair of gloves and I never wear a scarf. And I trade meat for Auden. I trade for meat for Mr. Auden, the butcher up Morchard, for a fortnight. And went around with a tractor and trailer for him. Yeah.
Because you couldn't get around in motor vehicles.
A lot of
Because
roads
the
that's
snow
never
was
went
about-
on, cross fields. Yeah.
Well, I remember telling about snow, but this is back in the early 1900s. I wasn't born then. But over your Cookstock, coming in from the ladies playing in that lane, poor old age pensioner lived there. But they wouldn't have me indoors. He had to sleep up over the stable loft, over the corridors. He said, this is what I was told. He walked from Cookstock to Morchard Bishop over the edges. The snow was so deep. That was the early 1900s. Right or wrong, I don't know, but I was told that.
Because I'm man, when I went out South Linley there, the chap said there, in 1921, he walked from Cruise Morchard to Poyle, and he never seen a road nor a field. All he seen was some bushes, and he knew that he could see Poyle church, and he walked straight to the church, cross country.
And when was that?
1921.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 foot deep.
Oh,
It was hard.
got
It was freezing.
frozen, didn't it?
Freezing, it was hard, see? And then there was another farmer saying, whether it was the year before or the year after, there was acres of corn never got cut. It shot out with the ears level with the ground. It was so dry. And the same chap that told about the snow, he said that back over Ragnford, they cut down the beach edges and fed the bullocks with it. and the bullocks would eat so far as back as the trees as possible, all the branches. Yeah, and 3 of them used to go out with the axes every morning and for half hour and cut down for to feed the bullocks. Yeah, and that's weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.